Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jonah Musiak. Today, I want to go a little deeper into what to do when you find yourself in a negative rut. How do you get yourself out? I've been sharing recently, I was on this hamster wheel of negativity and I just couldn't get out of it. And just all these different little highs and lows I've been having. I personally have been going through some deep healing and growing. We all have, rhythms of life and like little seasons really, where sometimes we do a lot of healing and growing. And then other times we're, just really present and enjoying. So sometimes things come up. Anyway, so I've been really working on that because with going through the candida in my gut, like the overgrowth of candida, I shifted my perspective. I, got caught in negative patterns and lots of fun stuff, or not so fun stuff, really, if I'm being honest. And I discovered recently, or even just thought about it, because sometimes when we slow down, like things in our life can cause us to have to pause, right? I had to slow down. I felt fatigued and overwhelmed and tired and just so much going on. So I had to really have to focus on my health, focus on what's behind that and things like that. So I've been really doing that. But I also discovered is I had a lot of beautiful habits and techniques. I call them like the self-care toolbox or self-love, whatever you wanted to label it. But I had all these tools and I used them a lot. But then when we moved out here to the beautiful, beautiful coast of BC, I kind of just got so caught up in the excitement of life. And I was just so happy and just so, I was so awestricken. I was just so overwhelmed by amazingness. I love life. And I kind of just let go of my toolbox because I didn't need those tools at that time. However, life is always changing and shifting and growing. And then I slowly started having feelings again about different things. The past few years have been challenging for lots of people as the world has shifted and lots of things have come up to the surface, myself personally and just in life in general. And I didn't have these techniques at my fingertips. So I have had to relearn them because I haven't been using them. So I've been kind of beating myself up on this because I'm like, why am I not doing better? I'm an empowerment coach. I should be able to figure this out. So today I really want to pull back the curtains and talk you through the things I've done. So if you ever find yourself in a negative rut where you just can't seem to get out, you're just stuck and everything feels heavy or icky, sticky, just very heavy, and where you just feel like you can't move forward, this is for you. And you are not alone. Even for me, where I'm like, I should know better. It's like life happens. And it was just me having to be easy and gentle and loving with myself. I've really learned more about myself. Does that mean that everything's perfect? Heck no. But I have really come to understand more about myself. And I got to dig deeper into what's going on underneath the surface, pull back some more layers and things like that. So here we go. So really the first thing in anything really, but here it's even more, well, not more important, but just in general, it's awareness. You need to actually be aware that you are in a negative rut or whatever rut you're in. So if you're feeling stuck and you can't move forward, you need to be aware of it because you can't change what you don't know is happening. So first understanding that. And I remember when that happened, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm in a rut. I'm not going to go too much into those details because I explained that in the episode about being on the hamster wheel of negativity. But awareness is the number one thing for anything because you can't change what you don't know needs to be changed, okay? So being aware. And if you've been attracted to this episode, like you were like, this is me, then you're already aware. So give yourself a hug and just honor that you're even aware. Because I've said this before in so many different things, not everybody's aware that something needs to be changed or that they'd like to change something. So first it's awareness, and then it's this desire, this willingness to make a change. Because if you're not willing to change or be at least open to possibilities of change, you're not going to be able to change because there's no willingness there. So if you don't think you can, that's okay. Just lean into that for a minute and like, why can't you? Why don't you think you can change? And then start with that before you make any more changes or try to do any changes, really. So it's awareness and then the willingness. And then another one that's really tricky sometimes is being accepting that you're in this place. Like, I'm still kind of beating myself at times where I'm like, how did I get myself here again? Why did I fall back into these negative habits and patterns? It's like that. So it's accepting that that's where you are right now and that it's okay. It's where you're meant to be. Doesn't mean you have to be there forever, but it's accepting that you're there right now in that moment. And just loving yourself where you're at. Doesn't have to be loving the things around you, but loving yourself. And just honoring where you are at right now. Life happens. Like I said, we all have seasons. Sometimes it's a storm season and things are going crazy. And then it's calmness and relaxation and really just being with yourself and enjoying it. But there's going to be highs and lows, and it's how you move through those highs and lows that will determine how you experience life. So again, it's about accepting where you are. So those are the first foundational things to do. So once you get there, what the heck do you do now? There's a million things you can do, right? Like I said, I had all these tools in my toolbox, and I actually felt very overwhelmed at first, where I'm like, where do I even begin? It took me years to form all these beautiful techniques. I'm like, what happened? Where are they? And they just felt lost. And then I had to make peace with that too, where I'm like, well, maybe those aren't tools I need anymore. And it's by taking one step at a time towards the new possibility. Like what was, right? It was the past. I don't need to recreate the past. I need to take steps towards, be in the present first and then take steps towards the person I'm becoming now. Because if I was trying to be that person that I was 3 years ago, 3 years ago, and I can't find that person because that person no longer exists. So I was having these ideas of like what should be instead of what could be. So I was getting stuck in the past and what I used to do. And I hope that makes sense. So once I kind of, have those things, what did I do? What steps did I do? Well, first, I started small. I'm usually a go big, go home kind of person. Gonna be honest there. I'm like, let's do it all now. And with the healing of my candida overgrowth, it has really slowed me down because I had to be really mindful of what I'm putting into my body and doing it in a loving way, not this begrudging way. And I've really had to slow down because of fatigue and things like that. So I try to honor myself where I'm at, but not hold myself, don't baby myself either too much. So be really loving with myself, but at the same time, open to moving forward in a loving way, but honoring myself through that process. And so I've learned that baby steps are sometimes better than the bigger steps. So after I became aware that I really got into this nasty negativity, I'm like, I just live it. And I'm still not fully through it. I'm going to be honest here. But it did come up for me the one day. And I was like, I really want to share this now. I felt really called to share it here. And then hopefully down the line, I can share it through the other side as well. I am still taking steps. However, I am at a much better place than I was when I first realized that I was in this negative pattern. So what I did first was I focused on one thing and one thing only. And that was sleep. So what I did was I wrote down how much sleep I would like. And I've mentioned this in another episode, and my sweet spot's 9. So I try to get 8 to 9 hours. So I figured out what time I was getting up in the morning and then what time I needed to go to bed. And what time, having that wind down time and then getting myself into bed. So allowing myself that half-hour window to like go check on my children before bed and turning off all the lights and things like that. So it was allowing myself time so I could make sure I was getting to sleep by 11 o'clock and things like that. So anyways, so first sleep, because here's the thing. Sleep can help us when we're stressed out. Sleep can help us, like when we sleep, we can make better choices. We're not sleep deprived. And now if life is, you're in the middle of where you can't control how much sleep you get. I'm a mom. I know that sometimes kids wake up in the middle of the night. My son didn't sleep for 2 years straight through the night. So I get it. So just doing the best you can where you are right now. So it's setting up what you can. And there are nights that I don't get to bed when I like to because the kids didn't go to bed as on their regular bedtime, and then it pushed everything out, right? So another thing I've really had to love myself through is not being perfect. I do try to, perfect things and like, I need to do this perfectly. So now, and in our house, we actually have this saying, it's like, practice makes better. We don't do practice makes perfect because in our house, we talk about there is no such thing as perfect. Even sometimes we'll be like, oh, that was perfect. And my kids will be like, there's no such thing as perfect. I'm like, no, but like in this moment, it feels perfect. So it's just so fun. But anyways, so I've been really trying to be okay with like, if I have a day that doesn't go well, it doesn't mean that I failed. It doesn't mean that this doesn't work. It just means that that day didn't go as like where I wanted it to, like in sleep wise, right? But it didn't mean that the day sucked or that I failed or anything like that. Because life happens. We're not robots, right? We feel things happen in life. I have kids, so things like it's not just my life. I share it with my kids, my husband, my cats, and friends and family. So, life happens. But it's what we do with life that really affects how we enjoy life and how we embrace life and things like that and how we're living life. So, I had this idea and I try my best without stressing about it, as best I can anyways, about getting to bed at a really good hour, like focusing on that. Because when we get sleep, we can really make better choices. Like I said before, my son didn't sleep through the night for 2 years. I literally was living off of sugar, like donuts and all this other stuff, because I was so sleep deprived. So I really know both sides of the coin, like getting enough and not getting anywhere near enough. And, like I said, there's going to be days that you might not get enough, but it's really honoring where you are and trying your best to get a good night's sleep. And that means, setting up a routine, whatever works for you. I can name off a million things for like that you could do before bed, but it's finding what's right for you. So it might be a little bit of a guessing game, like trial and error. I've recently heard something where it's like, it could be like dating, right? You date somebody, not everybody's meant for you. So it's the same idea as like, you could try a nighttime routine and it might not work for you, and keep trying. Just because something doesn't work doesn't mean it's not meant for you. Like for instance, I do like reading before bed. However, I can't read personal development books or self-help or anything inspirational because it kind of activates my brain. Not kind of, it activates my brain. And then I go on this really crazy, awesome, imaginative world of possibilities. And I get so inspired that I can't sleep. So I do read at night, but it's a novel of sorts. Like I love cozy mysteries. So I'll read a cozy mystery. And sometimes I'll even have that where it doesn't help me get to sleep because then I'll keep reading. So for the most part, I try to set an intention. Like I'm only going to read one chapter. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Especially if you're near the end of the book and you're just like, you want to find it out. Anyways, so finding what works for you. Like I said, I can name off a million things. But in my opinion, if you're not getting enough sleep, that is a good first step. Because if you're not, that's how you're getting crankier. Emotions are coming up and you can't manage them as well when you're not getting enough sleep. So just keep that in mind. Now, once I was sleeping enough, I could see a little clearer. And I really started to focus on bookends of my day. So I already have focused on my sleep, right? So my evening routine was pretty solid. But then I'm like, okay, let's get back to my morning routine. What do I want that to look like? And I actually drew out my whole day, like my whole morning routine. Now, normally, my old self would have been like, let's do it all right away. And in fact, I still had that knee-jerk reaction where I'm like, let's just do it all. Let's just try. But the new me, the me that's like, I need to take little baby steps so I can manage it. And this could be long term because sometimes we can go so strong, so fast, so big that it's not sustainable. And then we give up and we go right back to where we started. So for me, it wasn't about going fast and getting to a finish line. It was about building on a foundation so I could continuously grow and maintain a beautiful new routine in my life. So I did figure out, I'm like, what would my ideal morning look like? What do I want to accomplish in my morning to feel good and to really start my day off right? So I wrote that all out. And then I started on one thing. And it's the thing that I know has always helped me, always, and that is my yoga practice. So it's doing the yoga asanas, followed by meditation and in breathing. And it's just this beautiful thing. So that in myself, I'm like, it is actually more than one thing because yoga isn't just movement. It's breathing. I said it in a different episode too. It's like yoga's who you are. So it's a way of life. It's a way of being. So that was the thing that I knew would help me the most to connect to myself again. And that is what I chose to do first. And I included tapping into there later. So EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique. And I'll get more into that later in a different episode because I was actually doing that for a different thing, like definitely negativity and stuff like that, but for a different personal reason. And I'll share that in the next episode. So I focus on the bookends of my day because how you start your day can really put that foot forward. Now, that doesn't mean that if your day doesn't start off great, doesn't mean you can't turn it around. Because if having that mindset, then will be, well, I didn't do my morning routine, so then the whole day is going to suck. I just ruined the whole day. So it's not about that at all. It's just, like I said, baby steps. So it's like, okay, maybe I didn't do yoga my yoga practice every day, but I did it 3 to 4 times that week or even once. So it's about celebrating the movement forward. It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, no such thing as perfect. It's just one step at a time, getting you closer to what you want your morning to look like. So honestly, as I'm recording this, I have not got back into my yoga practice where I'd like to be doing it 6 days a week again. However, I did have a breakthrough this week where normally I don't do my yoga practice on my period when it's really heavy, my first 2 days, because I have it's really not good. So, however, though, instead of skipping over it, so instead of doing my primary series that I normally do in the morning for Ashtanga yoga, I decided to still show up on my mat, but do it all sitting and just go with the flow that day. It didn't have to be this idea that I had in my head. So I just was like, I'm still going to show up for me on this mat, but I'm going to do it differently today because I'm at a different place today. Remember, we don't have to be stiff and focus always on the exact thing we need to do. Honor where you are, flow and see where you are. And that's okay. So it was a really big breakthrough for me where I'm like, it's this idea of being perfect, right? Like if, I can't do this routine, this series like I should, then I shouldn't do it at all. And instead I was like, okay, I'm not doing this today because I'm just, going into downward dog and moving and flowing and all that just does not feel good today. That doesn't mean I can't show up for me. And that was a huge breakthrough for me. So anytime you're making changes, focus on those little moments, those aha moments, those wow moments. Just for example, I've also included in my morning routine recently oil pulling. And the first day, I could barely keep the oil in my mouth. I almost threw it up, like I gagged. Sorry if you're having lunch when you're listening to this. And after that day, I was like, I don't know if I can ever do this again. So I waited a day or two and then I went back. And the second time I'm like, okay, that wasn't so bad. And I started with 2 minutes. So those first couple days were 2 minutes. And then I got up to 5 one day with no stress. I just kept adding a minute to my timer. Because ideally I'm trying to get to 10 to 20 minutes. So I was just it's those little moments. It doesn't have to be perfect. Your meter stick is your meter stick. You don't have to measure towards anybody else. Don't use somebody else's measuring stick. Use yours. So as you're growing, use your own from the day before. Like how much did you change from like a week, a month ago doing that thing? Maybe you've had no morning routine. And then just the idea of starting one, you're like, okay, I'm starting. It's starting to percolate. You have ideas. Yay for even having ideas. Celebrate the little moments in life that are changes, that are gonna, like with small itty bitty changes, huge results, like huge. Nothing has to be massively changed. And that was so freeing for me, for somebody that's like, if I don't do it exactly like this, then I might as well not do it at all. And it was so, so empowering to let go of that feeling that I have to do it a certain way. And that's why I say, like, your evening routine, your morning routine, you need to discover what it is you need. And it can become a game and an adventure. All you have to do is you can Google things like self-care routines in the morning or night or just self-care in general. And there's a ton of people out there that tell you what to do or what could be possible. Try here and there, like something that you're like, that sounds kind of fun. Or maybe that's something I might need or could use. And just test it out. Now, the thing is, like the oil, it might not have run smooth the first time. So I remember talking to a nutritionist when I was learning about making baby food for our kids. And actually at the time, I don't even know, did I have kids yet? Anyways, I took this course. Maybe I was pregnant. Yes, it was early on, or they were very, very young. Like they weren't eating food yet. But anyways, I was getting ahead of the game. So information. I love information. And that's what it is when you're finding your own routines, taking in information and seeing what feels good to you and then let the other stuff go. Anyways, as for food, I remember her saying, she would tell her kids, you got to try it 7 times. 7 times before you write off a certain food. And now I haven't been so good, I'm going to be honest, with my kids doing that. However, I do believe that just because you have one bad experience with something, like the oil in my mouth, the oil pulling, where like I literally had the worst experience ever the first time, I decided to give it another shot. Partly because I had a whole bottle of the oil, and the other part because I'm like, well, I really want to give this a full shot. Like just having one bad experience should not prevent me from trying again. So same goes with you. If you just had a bad experience, you don't have to do it right away again, but don't write it off fully. Give it another chance if you're at a different stage in your life, or unless you have a really bad reaction to something. Like, again, listen to your own intuition and your own body. But for me, something told me, give it another shot. So don't always write everything off the first time if it's been a bad experience. But if it's been bringing up emotions or different things for you, then definitely pause and ask yourself questions. Like, what's going on here? Like, what's causing me to feel this way? So get curious about your routines. Get curious about life. Get curious about what's coming up to the surface for you. Don't just run away and shy away from it. And like I've mentioned before, it's being gentle and loving with yourself. It is a journey, so try to enjoy it. So like I said, the oil pulling didn't go so smoothly. But I am and so embracing it now. It's so part of my routine and I'm loving it. I don't do it every morning. I do it as much as I can. And it's really, really something. So I scrape my tongue, brush my teeth, oil pull. Like, it's all this beautiful thing I've been trying to do about just healing my body in a loving way. Because our toxins can come onto our tongue while we're sleeping. I want to talk more about this in a different episode, hopefully come in the fall, where I even embrace these practices more. Because I think I'm pronouncing it right, Ayurveda, and it's something I've been embracing and learning and going into more fully recently. So I'm still on the tip of the iceberg of emerging into these healing and just life practices. So I do want to share more down the line, but for now, it's pretty new to my world. Other than dry brushing, I've been doing that for quite some time, but anyway, so I'm embracing a lot of those practices, but they're new to me. So as I go deeper into that world, I'm hoping to share more of those down the line. Anyways, so it's about, let's get back to the journey. So like I said, I've made some major aha moments with myself where I had to realize that it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up the best I can that day. And that's part of being gentle and loving with yourself. So if you have a day that just doesn't go quite the way you would have liked it, it's taking a moment and just reflecting on that, feeling those feelings that come up, honoring yourself where you are, and then just be like, hey, just thinking about what could be different or why you needed it to be different. But maybe your day needed to go that way to learn something. So it's looking at it from a different perspective. And you can ask yourself, what can I learn from today? What can I learn from today? So maybe it went sideways. Maybe it went upside down, flipped over. It was like a roller coaster ride. And it didn't go well at all. It was not one of the fun ones. And you're just like, what can I learn from today? And remember, it is a journey. It's all over the map, right? And I've shared that in the other episodes. It's like zigzag, curvy, all over the place. And then there's one more thing that I've really had this aha moment recently. And because I can get lost in those oh, I wish I didn't, get lost in all this negativity or, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? We can get lost in those ideas of what you think should have happened or needed to happen, but it didn't. So like I said, when I kind of lost sight of all these tools I had, these, what I like to say, coping mechanisms or ways to help me through stressful times, and I couldn't find them. I felt like I was drowning, that there's no one there, like the life vest or the anything there. I couldn't grab onto anything because I lost sight of all of them. I forgot where they are and what they do and all those things. I kind of got lost. And then so you can get caught up in all those feelings of oh man, I just failed. I'm not showing up the way I'd like to. And then I realized whatever happens, it's about focusing on feeling good. So at the beginning of the day or the end of the day or in the middle of the day, it's I focus on feeling good. That has been my affirmation this past week even. It's I focus on feeling good. So it's what does that mean to me? So it's picking foods that make me feel good. Because honestly, this past couple of years with the candida overgrowth, I have had this negative idea of food because there's so many foods that feed the candida and that really make me feel crappy. So I've had a really negative perspective of food. And then I even get grumpy where I'm like, why can't I eat that? And, things like that. So instead of focusing on what I really should not eat because it will feed the candida and it's not helping me heal, I focus on feeling good. So it's instead of thinking about what I can't do, I say I focus on feeling good. So then I focus on all the things that I know make me feel good. And that's my yoga practice, going for walks in the forest, going to the ocean, meditating, breathing, hanging out with friends. And it's focusing all on the good things in my life, not the negative. So hopefully that helps if you're in a negative rut. You can even just say, I focus on feeling good. And that can be when something in life, happens and you want to go down that negative route again. Bring it back to feeling good. What can you do right now in that moment that feels good? I focus on feeling good. So it's when I've been to quite the number of birthday parties recently where I've been around cupcakes. I'm going to be honest, I love birthday cake, but I haven't eaten it for over 6 months, I think, maybe half a. As this lands, well, actually, I'll be on it. So I'm recording this in June, and it will be at least half a year, at least I think. But I haven't had it in months, and now I look at it and I'm like, that is delicious, but I know in my heart that wouldn't make me feel good. So it's not about being deprived of something anymore. It's, I can actually watch other people eat cake and not be mad. I'm like, I know that that's not good for me. There was a time where I'm like, poor me. I wish I could eat that and it wouldn't do anything bad and things like that. So I can actually look at it now and be like, hey, as tasty as that is, I'm going to enjoy other people eating it, not me. Because I know that the moment I eat that, I'll break out into a huge rash. And then if I eat too much sugar, then it turns into a full-blown inflammation in the arm where I can't use it kind of thing. And my feet hurt. So I know what could happen and what has happened in the past. So I have felt so unhealthy. So in those moments now, I can make a conscious decision and a very loving decision to choose to feel good. I really hope that makes sense. That when we change your perspective of something, it can be really, really helpful. And because that's one of my things. I'm really, really picky when it comes to desserts, and not that I'm having any time soon, but I was always a picky dessert eater. I don't love everything. I don't like heart cookies and things like that. I'm very, very picky. But birthday cake was always one that I'm like, yes, give me some birthday cake. I love a good birthday cake. Anyways, or a cupcake, any of those things. But for now, it doesn't bring up anything for me. And it feels so good to be at that place because I know what the other side is. So again, it's about perspective. It's changing your perspective. Because then recently I've also been triggered where I was around people and they were eating all this food at a track meet that my oldest went to, and I went to go watch them. And I was like, oh, everybody gets to eat this stuff. I was having a really hard day. I was unpacking a lot of emotions from past years. So I was doing some deep healing, and this event literally happened in the middle of that experience. So I was actually on the bathroom floor in full on tears beforehand, feeling all these emotions that I stuffed down for years and years that were still there, that just decided to come out at that moment because it was safe enough to do so, and that it was time. But it wasn't the perfect time in my day because I had to, catch a bus to meet up with my child for their track meet. So I had that, and I was in the middle of tapping and feeling it, and then scraped myself off the floor and got up. But it didn't mean that it was fully released. And when I was around people, I was feeling like a victim and feeling crappy because my perspective was wrong. I was focusing on all these other people instead of me. And that can happen, right? When we compare ourselves to others, when we judge others or judge ourselves. Like in that moment, I was judging myself. I wasn't judging others. I was just really beating myself up. It's like, why can other people be thin and just eat all these foods and I can't? Like it was the poor me thing, right? And I'm not proud of those moments, but it was there. And that's a learning thing, right? We have these moments and I'm sharing these moments with you because I feel like if I'm having them, you might be able to relate as well. We all have these moments and it's about changing your perspective. So like I said, I was beating myself up. I was feeling sorry for myself because all these emotions from my childhood were coming up and I didn't have the time in that moment to really dig deep. I had to kind of put it on hold so we could go into parenting mode and put on a brave face for my child and like unpack that later. Because sometimes things come up and it's not the right time to be unpacking it. Like we don't want to be doing this in the middle of work in an office or the warehouse or wherever you are, in the car sometimes. So I had a lot to release and I'm still working on some of those feelings. I've mentioned before in the past that I've struggled with my weight a lot. And like I said, that's going to be in the next episode. But the thing is, so I was unpacking that. So it's about focusing on feeling good. Anyway, so let's get back on track because I feel like I've veered off a little bit. Anyway, so it's about perspective. And I would say the easiest things to do is having that I focus on feeling good. It's just, again, it's bringing awareness to your thoughts. So if you're having a negative thought, you can try your best to flip it. But what I found recently is that taking care of yourself, getting sleep, feeding your body in a loving way, moving your body in a loving way, even if it's just a walk around the block, a walk down the street, whatever it is to you. Some days I'm like, I just need to get to the mailbox. It depends. Yoga. I'm a yoga teacher, so I'm going to push the yoga practicing because I do know how much it's changed my own life. But it's changing your perspective. And sometimes, like I would say, you could take a negative thought and change it to a positive affirmation. But sometimes all you need is to sleep. Give yourself a nap. If you're not getting enough sleep, it's hard to look on the other side of things. So it really comes down to loving yourself where you are. So let me recap everything. Being open and willing to change. Accepting where you are so you can open up space to make changes into the future. So hopefully that helps. So those are the big ones. And then it's slowly, lovingly making small steps towards the life you really want. So it's like visualizing your day, or even like I said, your morning routine. Like if a whole day is too much, focus on the beginning or the end. And those are two really good places to start. And don't forget to be gentle and loving with yourself because it is a journey that's meant to be enjoyed. And if you're really struggling to latch onto something, focus on feeling good. And then one more thing that I want to wrap this up with, because I know this has been a long one, is something that I've realized recently as well, is that I've known this deep down, but I was reminded. There's a lot of things I know, but I had to be reminded. Maybe you can relate with that too. Like deep down, but maybe you're just reminded today in this episode. I realized that I can't change anyone but myself. And that can be really hard. Really, really challenging when you're like, you just want to help other people change, or you feel that if they change, you can change. And it's just focusing on you and making those changes. And then as you change and change your perspective, everything else around you will change. And it's really hard to see in the moment, but it's just focus on you. Focus on feeling good. Focus on changing the things you can change because you can't change anybody else. So it's realizing that like I can't change others, so I really need to focus on myself. It's you that needs the love. We give so much love out to others. So take some time today to just honor and love yourself where you are. You just showed up for this episode. It was a longer one. So way to go. Give yourself a hug. You showed up for you today. Big or small, every step counts. Every single step. Even if it's like a little roll or a stumble, it counts. The more you take time for you, the more you get to know yourself, the more you learn things and get to love yourself. The emotions that come up and you're like, oh, I feel that. And then you work through that. It all matters. It's a journey. Enjoy the process the best you can. There are going to be highs and lows, ups and downs, tripping and falling and crying and hair pulling. It all matters. You matter. So love yourself, or at least try to love yourself where you are today, because you truly do matter and you are incredible right here, right now, where you are. So give yourself a hug, or if that doesn't feel well, place your hands over your heart and just send yourself some love today, because you are amazing. You are incredible and you showed up for you today. So way to go. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here today. I love you and I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And if you felt called to share this, please share this. Don't keep this a secret. Every woman, every person, every being needs to know that they are loved and that they're lovable and that they don't have to be stuck in a negative rut forever and that they can take positive steps forward. And that includes you and everybody in this world. Anyway, so share the love if you feel called to do so. Anyways, thank you again for being here. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye for now.